get this tattooed. I'm an extreme person.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, you are. I'm gonna do this real quick. This is something I was gonna do earlier, but I didn't because we didn't have time and I didn't feel like talking for that long. But I'm just gonna do it real quick. It's kind of will give us long-term vision, so we don't get caught up in the college campuses. So keep this in mind. This is a strategy. It's very simple to change. It's just something that I prayed about, talked with a number of people about, and it seems pretty cool. So you have your college campuses, right? You have your college campuses, right? So I'm gonna just use this college campus as an example, right? At each college campus, you're gonna have local ministries. So there's a local church or campus ministry. This has nothing to do with the topic. I just want to show this guy. The prayer group on every college campus, your job, in a sense, is to unite, be able to unite all the local ministries to pray together. You want to be praying united. There's some groups to the end they won't, and that's fine, right? Don't waste like your life pursuing that, you know. Just follow the Lord, right? But it's to unite the local ministries, right? Every college campus is going to be united as well, right? And so this is what forms what we call a circuit, right? So this is a circuit. So this is a prayer furnace. This is a circuit. Usually college campuses are concentrated in certain regions, right? Very rarely will we have a college campus in the middle of nowhere by itself. And, you know, there's usually like college, like NorCal, there's like, it's a little farther than SoCal. SoCal's like 50, 40, 50 with like all the states and then like the CCs, right? NorCal's like 15, 20, right? And most of them are commuter. So it's a little different scene, but it can still, college campus can still happen. You form what's called a circuit, right? And so each circuit's like a certain region, and circuits have the ability to mobilize together. So it's like little regiments, right? So like NorCal circuit, Seattle, SoCal, and then like when things happen, you're able to mobilize them. NorCal and SoCal, we really feel like the Lord's going to bring us together. I even feel like something that's going to be birthed out of today is something that's going to work together. I mean, Annie's from SoCal. Emily does kind of go back and forth. Audrey and I kind of go back and forth between SoCal. And so NorCal and SoCal, we're convenient. We have a nice highway called the 5. And so you have your circuit at this level. But the word that we receive from the Lord and that we receive from prophets is that it's going to be a prayer movement that spans 3 generations, right? So what does this look like? And that's when you've effectively taken a society, when you can take 3 generations, right? It's not just one youth movement that's going to die out when you all graduate college. Your college zeal dies and you all get a job. It's kind of like, all right, we just gave it all, you know, we're just whatever now, right? We want something that lasts, you know, something that'll last till the day that Jesus comes back, right? And so you have like mothers and fathers, like spiritual mothers and fathers who are like kind of like covering, they cover, and then you have like our parents somewhere in between, but you know, like spiritual mothers and fathers, right? Like like Lou Engle, right? Like Lou Engle, man. Like if he says something, I'll do it. You know, like because I trust in the two, man. I think this is the Lord. Right? And then another piece that we're dreaming up of is that so there's the high school level, right? So high schools, and then below high schools there's like a bunch of other stuff like elementary and like middle school. But I haven't thought that far yet, right? So you have your high schools, right? And then your intermediary though is youth groups. Because the thing about youth groups that's different about local ministries is that local ministries are concentrated on a specific college campus. Right? But for youth groups, you have youth groups, they go to this high school, they go to this high school, they go to that high school. The youth groups go far and wide. Right? But then still the youth groups, the pastors are able to mobilize. Right? And youth kids are awesome because they're so foolish. It's like you tell them they have to do it. Right? So what the strategy is like for us, we're like meeting with like different youth group pastors and stuff like that, and so like we've started to do that in the Bay Area, and so that we can get all the high schools like praying. Right, so it's different than this model is different because now we just connect all the youth groups together, and like it's kind of easy in the Bay Area because you get the 10 largest youth groups and then everyone else follows. Right? But then bringing the generations together, having like the college kids like help out the high schoolers, like not just like college prep stuff, but like imagine this, imagine you pour into a high school in your region, or high schools in your region, and you get them like praying, right? And by the time they come to college, they're not like green. Like they're like, hey, we prepare for this when we're in high school, right? And they're able to come into your college campus ready to take the campus. You know, and like a lot of the college campus people who are like serious about the Lord, like their freshman year, is because they did a lot of stuff when they were in high school. And they stepped out in faith and things like that, and it makes them ready. And so you have the three generations be like covering mother and fathers, like our parents too, you know, mother and fathers, and like somewhere along this, there's a lot different aspects to it. It's like a giant map. Right, because like there's like business people who like give all the money, and it's like it's awesome, right? But Cindy Jacobs gave the word of met her in March, and she was just like, we were talking about it, and then she was like, high schools are next, and I was talking with her, and she was like talking with Brian Kim too, and she's like, high schools are next, so we have to plan for the high school. So originally this fall we were gonna have a conference for high schoolers, and so we had been talking with like youth pastors and stuff like that. What would it look like if we had a conference? Like a 2-day conference where it's like first night you pulverize them, and then you make them sign cards, right? And like, yeah, I want to do it, right? And then like the next day, so like next day, an afternoon session, we like have them all like meet by high schools. Like for the first time living with other youth group kids, and stuff like that. Hey, just pray once a week, right? And then that evening we bring in like a spiritual mother and father, like Lou or something like that, and we just burn it up, right? But here's the deal. If we want this to be sustainable, the youth groups have to be connected, you know, and have their relationship, and we also, college students, have their relationship with high schoolers, and so that's not set up yet. And so kind of the word that we got was from the scriptures, where the Lord says, I will give you the land little by little, so that your armies will increase and you'll be able to handle the increase. Right? And so just keep this in your heart. Like, it's not just at the college level. God's going to do something with the high schoolers that's going to be insane, you know, and below. You know, but just keep in mind that the 3 generations, right? I think Foreigner is really good at doing this. My church experience is like, nah. Like, it's like we don't talk to the adults ever, right? You know, and I don't even know who my senior pastor is in like my home church, right? It's like this giant Korean church. But having the Lord's gonna bring 3 generations together. Even like in March, at the Rise Up, He brought 3 generations together. Like all these intercessors, like you know, like the ones from like 50s and 60s, like they started praying when the Jesus movement ended, and they've been waiting for revival ever since. Like 40 years of praying. Like I'm like, they're legit. It's like, hey, it's easy. It's like God, I think it happened within the next like 5 years. Right? They're like, it's been 40 years. You know? It's like real Caleb. You know, it's like, you know, and they're waiting for the inheritance, right? And the Lord's knitting our hearts together, right? He's bringing the upper generations together and to support the lower generations, and there's like a whole bunch of revelation on that.
Malachi 4:6.
Yeah. Huh?
Malachi 4:6.
Yes. Gloriousness. But the point being, guys, it's a lot bigger than college campuses. But today we're going to focus on college campuses. We're always going to be. It's bigger than college campuses, and it's even bigger than this. It's the return of Jesus, like I was talking about. All right, that was real quick.
I have one quick testimony.
Yes.
Okay, so then like just about pouring into young people. Okay, there's 5 kids in my family. I'm the oldest, and like they're all like in crazy rebellion, except for 2 of them are not saved. But anyways, like they're like Jesus, but they're not like set free. So my brother who's 13. Okay, I've been praying, contending for him for like the last 4 years. He's 13 years old. The most crazy rebellious kid in the world. Okay, like the stuff that's going on with him was just so bad. Okay, so Yesh knows 2 days ago. He's sitting on the couch with my sister. He stays home from school because he lied to my mom about being sick. Okay, so he's like already like on a bad note during the day. That morning, they're watching this movie about ghosts. My sister's like, "Hey, do you believe in ghosts?" He's like, "No, I believe in demons." She's like, "Really?" So they start talking about all the spiritual warfare, and my sister is a seer. She's 15. So my brother's like, "Well, do you believe in it?" She's like, "Yeah, I actually see." And he's like, "What? Oh my gosh." She's like, "Do you see anything on me?" She's like, "Oh yeah." So he gets like freaked out. He's like, I don't know. I like need to like get set free. Like, oh my gosh. So then I go downstairs. I'm like, I gotta be here for this, Jesus. So I go downstairs. Okay, so this like never happened in my family. So I go sit on the couch next to my brother, and I'm like, well, let's just start praying for you. Let's like get your original design. And your original design is like praying and asking God how He originally made you, like for what purpose. So we start praying for His original design, and then we ask the Lord, what are some lies that the enemy's always brought him down with, you know? So we start prophesying over him and all these lies. He's freaking out. He's like, how do you know all my thoughts? Like he's like freaking out, you know? He gets totally set free. He's repenting. He feels the Holy Spirit. And he's like just in shock. And he's like, I've never felt so peaceful. Okay, so he like gets fully delivered. He goes to my dad's house like an hour later. My parents are divorced. So he goes to my dad's house. My dad's like, I have pain in my back. Joe heals him, brings my dad back. He's like, we're gonna do Dad's original design. My dad is like needs like crazy deliverance. So he sits my dad on the couch. My brother starts prophesying over my dad. He's like, yeah. He's like, Dad, we're gonna pray and set you free from the devil's hand. Oh my gosh. So then my brother's like, so after my dad is like an hour later. My dad's like just crying. He's getting set free. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jesus is real. So after that, my brother's like, he's 13. He's like, let's go to the hospital. I've never talked to him about this in his life. And he's like, everybody's gonna get healed. He's like, that spirit of infirmity is gonna come off people in Jesus' name. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, let's go. The whole family needs the gospel. And he's like, full on an evangelist. I'm like, dude, this took like 3 hours. He's already.
He's 13.
He's 13.
Guys, we gotta save the high schoolers.
So like, Aaron just takes some crazy faith. It's real. What took us like 5 years to say you like 2 hours. Oh my God. Lord. Anyway.
All right, that was such an amazing story. I love what you're gonna say.
Okay.
Real quick, why do we do this? I just forgot to say why. Because kind of like it looks cool, but like why? It's because I believe the Lord, He's orchestrating a unity movement specifically because He wants His body to be able to move at the sound of His voice, and you move together. And so when we're all connected, united, it no longer becomes about denomination or about ministry affiliation. It becomes about the voice of the Lord. What's the Spirit saying in the churches, right? So the Lord's like, do a missions movement. And it's like boom, boom, boom. It's not like 1,000 different churches are like sending like random missionaries everywhere. It's like very concentrated, right? And it's like everyone's working as one body, and it's boom, it's effective. Right? It's like a sniper bullet instead of like a shotgun. That's what I like to say.
It's good.
All right.
It's really good.
All right, really quick on leadership. I'm gonna do this in 10 minutes, all right? Because I really want to spread it. All right. Leadership. Leadership is really important in terms of your leadership community, in terms of your group. You guys at a specific college campus, you guys are the leadership, and it's really important. Lou Engle says this. He says the constitution of your community is more important than the passion of your prayers. The constitution of your community is more important than the passion of your prayers. The health of kind of your core leadership will determine the health of the prayer movement. Will determine the health of any organization. So you can always tell what a bad organization is, no matter how efficient it is. If the closest people around them are people who are operating in fear and not in love, then you know that it's an unhealthy environment, and it's going to show. So you need and not just in terms of like loving each other, but in terms of like staying spiritually fiery. So like the condition of your core leadership is the most important thing. So there's 3 types of people that you're going to encounter as you're doing ministry. It's the core, the committed, and the crowd. The core, committed, and the crowd. Right? So the core is going to be your core leadership. There's going to be the ones who are dreaming with you, visioning with you. If no one else is praying, they're going to be praying with you. Right? They've taken ownership, leadership of this thing. So there might be one point leader, and I do suggest that you have like kind of at least one main leader. It's good because it helps you guys move, right? Not giving them like crazy amounts of power or anything like that. You know, like no one's above rebuke, and you know. And as a good leader, you should always be listening to like what everyone else has to say, right? But in terms of your core, the core leadership is the most important. So that's the core. The committed are people who they come, but they're not like as seasonal. Like they'll actually be there because they believe in the vision. They might not believe in it enough or like feel called to it enough to be part of the core leadership, but they're committed, right? And these are the 2 types. The core and the committed are the only groups that you should be focusing on. There's also the crowd, and they'll come when it's seasonal. When it's cool, when there's crazy manifestations happening, when the glory falls, there's crowds of people, hundreds. But you never cater to the crowd. You cater to the core and the committed.
Really
so what are the needs of the core and what's the needs of the committed? What are they feeling? And that's kind of how you have to respond, right? Or else you're going to get pulled 1,000 different ways. You're going to lose your original vision. You're going to go crazy trying to like please everyone. So keep your core really healthy. And I will say this, again, the health of your core is the most important. Usually the enemy, what he'll do is he'll attack the morale of your core team. Because if he can take out the core team, he ends the movement. If you take out the crowd, it doesn't matter because the core people will always be committed, right? But if you can take out the core team, if you can bring division, drama, if you can lower morale, if you can bring any of you guys into compromise, then he can take out the movement. And so the enemy's attacks will always be on the core movement. And that's why you you guys have to constantly be gauging the temperature of your core leadership. So you can't just assume like, oh, you're on core leadership, everyone's good. You know, like there's going to be seasons where certain people are going through hard times, where you guys are corporately go through hard times together. And that's why you need to be very attentive to the Lord and also to the spirit realm and see if there's any like kind of attacks against you guys or whatnot. So the core and the committed. Committed is important too. Because these guys, potentially, they have the ability to become a core member later. And what you want to think of it as, the crowd will always be the crowd. As the Lord works, what you're hoping, but you're not like actively working towards, is what you're hoping is that they'll become committed. As they come and pray with you, as they're experiencing the glory, they'll become more and more committed. As you're vision casting and things like that. You know, but the crowd might come for whatever reason. They might come because their friend told them to, right? And the committed, you want to invest in your committed because the committed will become part of the core leadership. And you want to really invest in the core leadership because like, I'm talking about investment as in like people are assets or whatnot, but I'm talking about investment in terms of relationships, spending time, getting to know them, hearing from them, right? Because they're valuable, right? And the limit, how much they commit to you, it's how you want to, how much like people commit to you is a good gauge of how much you want to be committing to them. In this sense, not in love, because you always love over and abundantly, even if people don't love you back. Right? But in terms of like commitment, time commitment, and things like that, like you don't want to like waste your time chasing the crowd and chasing the opinion of the crowd when your core is falling apart or when you're losing your original vision.
Yeah.
So number one, organization. Organization. The first part of organization is structure. So what's the leadership structure? Who's like kind of like the senior leadership, right? It varies per group, honestly. Like for us at Naos House of Prayer in Berkeley, like we have a really funky leadership structure, but it works for us, and it's very clear for us. It's really weird. It's like senior leadership, and then there's like overseer and senior leadership, and then there's like kind of two directors in senior leadership, and then there's core leadership. And it's like, if you thought like the org chart, you'd be like, what the heck does that mean, right? But it works for us. But you want to have it clear. That's the point. You want to have the structure clear, right? You want people like especially your core and committed should know your org chart, so to speak. They should know who to talk to, who's like kind of the point person for this, for that, and that saves an abundance of misunderstanding and trouble from inside and out. Okay, so structure is really key. The second part of organization is you have to know your responsibility as a core leadership. Make this very clearly defined what the responsibility of a core leadership is. You can't just be on core and then show up once a month. Like for core leadership, it's like for us, like the question we ask is like, are you Psalm 132? Like no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyes. Not into my house, no lie on my bed. If that's your life, you're on core leadership, right? Because it's like, man, we go broke for this, man. Like all the extra money we're putting into the prayer movement, like all the extra time, and it's like because we believe God's doing it. And so core leadership, I mean, I'm not saying set an impossibly high standard and like it's just yourself, right? But like set a standard where it's like, hey, guys, we're gonna commit to like come to the prayer, at least one prayer meeting a week, and more if you can. Things like that. You have to come to all the admin meetings, do the duties that have been delegated to you, things like that. And so responsibilities is really key to know. And with that, so the third part of organization is with delegation. So each person should know what they're doing. At different seasons, not everyone might have a specific task. And that's okay. So don't feel pressure to like, okay, if you're not doing anything, but you have to be the media person. And this person has no idea what media is, right? So you gotta kind of identify like people's gifting and stuff like that. But in certain seasons, like event season, like a lot of times people have specific tasks. Like, okay, you're gonna do venue stuff, you're gonna do sound stuff, like blah blah, just so that things can get rolling, and then we just trust each other. And that's it. But then it doesn't always have to be. But delegation is key. And just even within like a core leadership, like even if there might not be a specific task, like okay, things that are always good to have is admin. It's in and out of season.
Boring.
Emily Chen, she's gangster, right? In and out of season, you need an admin. You know, someone who loves it, like someone like really loves it. You know, who loves doing that email stuff. That's like formatting that crap. Right? I hate that. You know, so, but you need like certain things like you're gonna need like admin, right? Like worship leaders, like things like that. Like, but then some certain seasons. Your responsibility, your only delegation might be you're committed to praying, you know. But at least that, right? Okay, so that's number one, organization. Number two, relationship. So everything about leadership is relational. It's not about titles, okay? It's not about position. It's about relationship.
Yeah.
People will listen to you because you have a
so
relationship with
good.
them, not because you have a title. And if your ministry's based on title, like everyone's just, they don't love each other and everyone's just afraid that, it's all fear kind of stuff and fear of man. You want relationship, right? You want your core leadership to be super fun. Like you want your core leadership to be a lot of family, right? Make it fun, like go drink boba and stuff like that, you know? And like when you fast, go eat like
Korean barbecue.
like not fasting stuff together or fasting stuff together. So with that, love each other and have grace.
That's good.
One really important thing about relationships is you will offend each other.
That's right.
You will.
Yep.
And so you have to, be so comfortable with each other and feel safe that you can bring up your offenses. If you're in a relationship where you can't bring up your offenses or you feel like that way, that's not a healthy relationship, and you gotta like put some work into it, right?
Really good.
So you're gonna offend each other. So one, be loving enough to bring up each other's offenses. Like, hey, bro, like can you? God, can you clean up after yourself after you take a shower? Like, please, you know, like we all live together, right? So things like that. Like, don't be afraid of that, you know. And don't be offended. And two, don't be offended when someone brings it up. Like, get rid of the offenses. Like offenses that linger, it just builds up.
Yeah.
It builds up, and then it might turn into bitterness, but you'll blow up one day, and then like he's like, I don't want to hang out with you. Like, oh. And so get rid of your offenses, okay? And then also with the relational part comes accountability. So accountability is number 3. So core leaderships, you always have to have accountability with each other. I'm not saying like you like interrogate each other. You know what I'm saying? Like it should be in love, but you gotta. The enemy knows how to destroy, and a lot of the ways he does it is compromise, right? And so you have to keep each other accountable for holiness, right? And holiness is really key. Confess your sins to one another, blah blah blah. You know, your personal life. How's your personal prayer life? Things like this, right? So number 3, accountability. It's really key. And if you're keeping someone accountable, like you're like, hey, you know, you're praying for them and someone you love, and something comes up, an issue, because you love them so much and you believe in them so much, you're like, I have to bring it up because it's gonna destroy them if I don't. That's your heart posture, right? But you should bring it up to them. Or like if something's concerning you, bring it up to them. Not in like this Pharisee-like way, but do it because accountability is really important. And a lot of times, like the way ministries fall